incredibly moving. So exciting to be here. I was so honoured to be asked and to share a few questions with you. It's been a really remarkable journey for you, Jacob, and I have so many different sections. I want to talk about the visuals, the arc of the story, intimacy. So let's start there. Just this act of like folding the laundry, of being in the bedroom with them, the diaries, her ripping up the pages. How did this start? How did you meet Joel and Maggie? How did you come to be sitting here on the stage?
So I've been a big fan of Joel's work for a long time, and he's been very influential on photography that I was doing. And I saw him on the streets of London one day, but I wasn't fully sure it was him, so I followed him for a while.
Oh, you were like the guy in Italy?
I was like the guy in Italy.
It pays to stalk, I suppose.
It pays to stalk. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, so I kind of followed him in and out of shops, and then I eventually lost him. And I came home and I said to Manon, my wife, who co-directed this with me, I said, I think I just saw Joel Meyerowitz, but I didn't have the courage to say anything. Anyway, I saw him again a couple of weeks later, this time with Maggie, and the way that he introduced her and formed this kind of triangle between the three of us was so incredible. And when I looked at them, I fell in love with them. They glowed this incredible kind of dignity and wisdom and love, and it was an impression that was stuck in my brain for a long time. And then during the pandemic, I came across a blog that Maggie writes about their lives, and I had this idea of what would it be to go and make a documentary about them. So I wrote to Maggie about the idea of making a film about their relationship. Asked Manon if she would maybe be interested in being part of this. We didn't really know what we were going to really be doing, or certainly anything that was going to happen. And the four of us had a Zoom, and we hit it off, and about 3 months later we were living with them in their house in Tuscany. And
this is your first feature film?
First feature film, yeah. So, we had this incredible year of whenever we filmed, we would live with them, we'd stay in their house in Tuscany in New York, and the four of us kind of created an agreement of intimacy and openness, and that we would just see how life would unfold.
So, tell me a little bit about the process. And were they mic'd all the time? Did you have cameras around all the time? Like, take us into this world of this year. And what year was it? 2021, 22?
22, year of 22. So we had 2 cameras. We would mic Maggie and Joel every day. And sometimes we'd leave mics kind of hidden around the house. And we just wanted to make them as comfortable as possible so that life could unfold. We were living in a kind of separate part of the house. They're used to having cameras on tripods around because of Joel's equipment. So they very quickly became comfortable with this kind of setup, and we just wanted to be as unintrusive as possible. But we talked a lot as well. We would always prepare meals together, and the four of us hung out and connected and kind of talked as the year unfolded as well. So it was both kind of fully observational, but then there was also a kind of dialogue between all of us, checking in.
So I think that I would jump to sort of this idea about the arc and the story. So did you intend to set out this movie? Because I'm sure many people in the audience, I felt this way when I screened it earlier in the week. I thought I was going to be watching a movie about Joel and photography, and I ended up realizing I was watching a movie about, in a way, Maggie, became the protagonist. I mean, it's about their relationship, but it brought up sort of bigger ideas of gender and just how we live our lives. And I wonder if that was, your intent when you went in. Like, how did the act of making the work, the creativity, how did that inform what you ended up with?
We learned the process of documentary making on the fly, and the first thing that we did was kind of create an aesthetic that we felt that would be, coherent with the kinds of themes. This is about love, this is about mortality, this is about the mechanics of being in a relationship and having the courage to work through the reality of a relationship on a day-to-day level to kind of pursue the figurehead of love. what was I saying?
Did you plan on making this movie?
Right. Oh, no. I mean, the thing is, it's like Maggie and Joel are incredible, as you can all see, and once it was clear what the general themes of the film were, you know, you follow these kind of, your inner divining rod follows these thematic patterns, and so at the start, all we had was two incredible people, and then it became evident as things unfolded, and certainly when Maggie broke her femur, that this is where it was going.
So did you look at the footage all the way through, or were you just making and shooting and seeing what happened?
Combination of the two. It was late nights of then backing up footage and all of the nuts and bolts of filmmaking. So we tried to review when we could, but it really wasn't always possible.
I was so struck when I was looking at the, and again seeing on this enormous, gorgeous screen, that they felt like stills of Joel's work. The colour, this sort of saturated monochromatic colour, the sunsets, and feeling the way the camera doesn't move, that it felt like his photographs, and then to know that Maggie, the original score was Maggie's, correct? So I love how the weaving of both of their art became such an important part of this process. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that the gift of making a film about two artists is that you can, extrapolate as much artistic kind of gifts that they provide as possible. We didn't know that Maggie played the piano, and she kind of brushed it off early days. It was like, I tinker here and there. And the first time she sat down and played for us, we were like, wow, you are incredible, and we've got the ingredients of this, an amazing soundtrack here, and the rhythm of her piano pieces kind of became an important reflection of where they were at emotionally throughout the film as well. And then equally with Joel's photographic work, the way that he, as he calls, plays the frame and includes what's on the edges of the frame is just as important as what's going on in the middle. And so again, studying the ways in which he works, we wanted to absorb as much of all of this artistic ingredients and fold it back into the film as possible, to honour their ways of working and seeing the world in their reality.
Absolutely. How was their response to it? Should we look? There's a clip. They sent a clip especially for tonight because they couldn't be here, so we can roll it at any time. Do you want to see it?
Yeah. I asked them how did it feel? How was their experience of making this documentary? Let's have a look.
Hi everybody. Hi Jacob. Hi Manon back in London. We're really sorry we can't be with you all right now, but hopefully
we'll be there soon. We both hope that you've enjoyed the film as much as we enjoyed the experience of making it with Jacob and Manon. It was a year of incredible experiences.
And really a privilege to be seen and to be valued and honoured by two young, creative, soulful people. Really, it was just an amazing experience. We hope that it was as meaningful for you watching it as it was for us to make it.
Right. They really showed us a lot about who we are. It surprised us, and it was a great kindness.
Obviously, we're a work in progress. Anyway, cheers and love, because love is definitely where it's at. See you. Don't forget to tell your friends. Bye.
I mean, it's what a way to be in the world, to be that open, that vulnerable, to share it all. I think it's extraordinary, and I really think the documentary itself is sort of one of a kind in the sense that it's not about what you would expect initially. And I do think your relationship, your Manon's relationship, I think you got the access because you were a young couple together, just as they said. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that the two couples saw a lot of each other in each other, and there was a lot of identification, and when you're in this kind of documentary contract of trust and working through things, relating is the most important thing in any human experience, but certainly in something as honest as this. So I think, and we had a great time together. We really enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, you can tell. Were there any times where you were like, stop, they wanted the cameras to stop? It felt like it was completely wide open all the time.
It was wide open. They were very generous. We were nervous when Maggie broke her leg because it was kind of going in this direction, and then that suddenly happened, and we thought, oh my God, this is really serious, and we didn't want to intrude, and took a moment to kind of ask if we had their blessing to keep going. And their response was basically, yeah, what took you so long? So, yeah, they're very open.
It seems like it was like the perfect time for everyone. An extraordinary story. Let's open it up. Oh yes, who's there?
Video Village, we had a very messy bedroom that was filled with equipment, all tucked away. So the question is, what's on a deeper level, what was our process, and when were we with the camera and when weren't we? A mixture of the two. We were in the room a lot of the time, but often we would, by putting the camera on a tripod and just letting it roll, it gave us the opportunity to, sometimes we would set it up and then just kind of leave them to it because they were having a conversation and we didn't feel the need to be there, or sometimes they really didn't notice us being there, and leaving the room would actually be more distracting than just kind of holding your breath and sitting still. So there was no hard and fast rule. I think that we were always, the work in making a documentary is being attuned to the moment and trying to deliver that reality in an honest way onto a screen. So I don't know if that fully answers your question or if it's a bit ephemeral, but there was a mixture of techniques, and we were always mindful of framing the film in a way that we felt represented. Well, you don't know what's going to happen, so you try to find a frame that you think, 2 steps ahead, what might happen and in what way can we spontaneously find a frame that might make that work, and will it be clumsy if someone leaves frame, or is that interesting, or whatever. So it's a kind of constant, evolving experiment.
And also maybe linked to the fact that you're both photographers and working with the still image. So that influence seems so paramount, whatever the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, when you have worked a lot in the still image, as you well know, you
don't want to move the camera.
You don't want to move the camera. You know the value of the language of the frame, and in a way you have established this kind of proscenium arch, and now you just need to wait for the action to unfold. Yeah.
More questions?
So the question was about Maggie talking about being alone, being afraid of being alone when she dies, and this feeling of fragility. I think you're talking.
So there weren't any aunties, or the kids weren't in the movie, so it was very much just the two of them. Is that correct? So why? Yeah, was that conscious choice?
It was the reality of that time. This is a slice of life, if you like, and they were living in an isolated place. As you see, they had some local friends, but they had removed themselves from their lives otherwise, and they were living in the reality of being isolated, which, when Maggie broke her leg, really, highlighted the intensity of that isolation. I don't want to talk too much about Maggie on her behalf because she's not here and it's really a question for her, but I think that certainly at the end of the film, when she goes back to her brother and there's the scene of her finding out that he's her adopted brother, but then actually realizing that he's her real brother. And so Maggie's journey that I think that she went on was in kind of re-ingratiating herself into the people that matter, so that in the next chapter of whatever will happen in her life beyond the film, she has found a place of belonging. I hope that kind of answers. there was zero curation, manipulation, anything like that. No, absolutely not.
More questions? Yes.
Thank you so much. There was some photography class of Maggie in her therapy at the end of the day. Sort of and building the whole film and emotional. You say something about how you allowed that to happen or what did you do? I'm just wondering how that all happened.
The question is about the scene towards the end, the 10-minute scene. We spend a lot of time with Maggie and Joel, and spending a lot of time with people, you get to know patterns, and you become attuned to the reality and life. The camera can't be rolling all the time, but there was a sense that something was going on, and we, kind of discreetly kind of did our thing in order to try to anticipate. We didn't know, we weren't actually aware of what exactly had happened. We just read that there was an energy going on, and found a frame that was like a wild guess of, yeah, that's basically how it happened. And then and Manon and I were in the room with Maggie and Joel during that whole conversation. Yeah, so the question's about what was it like for Manon and I being in a relationship, and how did watching and being with Maggie and Joel, inform our relationship? A lot. I mean, I think that making a documentary is a way of exploring yourself through the lens of others, and we admire Maggie and Joel's way of discussing things and really working things through, and their commitment to love in such a major way, and we took a huge amount of inspiration from them. And it was a kind of a way of time travel. How can we look forward 40, 50 years into the future ourselves, and how can we still be in a loving relationship that has the courage to work things through and discuss things in order for each day to kind of have its maximum potential. So it was just as valuable and emotionally informative and beautiful for us as I hope it was for all of you watching. So the question is about rawness versus performative qualities. I don't see any performative qualities. This is Maggie and Joel. There's a few people here who know them personally and have spent a lot of time with them, and they are how they are. Yeah. When you're sharing the work of the documentary is, like I said before, it's about trying to absorb the reality that's happening and somehow anticipate how that could be transmitted onto a screen, or like in the moment, and also thinking in the future, and to collect the beauty and the intensity and whatever's going on and funnel that into a piece of footage is what it's about. And it's an art of spontaneity and second guessing. So each person has their different reading on different parts of the material, but it is them 100%.
I think that's time, but what a beautiful note to end on, and what an incredible movie that I know will stay with me, haunt me. It's so beautiful. Thank you for making it.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you to CIFF for having us as well.